At HAR, we are so very proud of our students who are training to become chaplains in the U.S. military. We know that they are doing good work. We know that they are making a difference in the lives of military personnel and their families. And HAR is a wonderful place to learn to do this work. First of all, our flexible programming enables students to learn from all over the country, including if they are deployed overseas. And our pluralistic education and our pluralistic community really trains our students to serve the diversity of the Jewish community, which is exactly the community they will be serving in the U.S. military. Speaking personally, I just want to say how much it means to me to be able to contribute in some small way to helping others to serve both the Jewish community and their country.
I am so happy to be joined this morning by Second Lieutenant Trishs Story. Welcome, Trish.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to talk to you and learn a little bit about your story. And if you're willing to share just a little bit about that, that would be amazing.
Sure. So I started AJR because I was looking for a seminary that was mostly going to be online. When I started, I was an Army wife and we were active duty, still are. And I wasn't able to go to a brick and mortar school, but I knew that I wanted to go to rabbinical school because I wanted to become a chaplain. And so AJR was the place to be. And at the time, the school was not recognized by the JWB, which is the military endorser for rabbi chaplains. So I started in 2020 and just now recently got into the chaplain candidate program. And so far things are going very well.
Share with our listeners what the JWB is and what the DRGL means.
Okay, so the JWB is the Jewish Welfare Board, also known as the Jewish Chaplains Council. It's a branch off of the JCC, and they have been in charge for the past 100 years of endorsing and supporting rabbi chaplains for the military, and that's for every branch. And a DRGL is a distinct religious group leader. Usually what happens is there's no rabbi chaplain available. It's actually a special thing to be able to at least have a lay leader if you're a Jewish soldier and there's no rabbi chaplain.
And how many people would you say on a regular basis you're ministering to in that capacity?
I might get 8 to 10 soldiers coming in for Shabbat services, and then 15 to 20 for holidays, and then they'll bring their families for that.
So what drew you to military service?
So as a kid, I didn't get to have a Jewish education until later because my parents were both military. And what happens is often, especially in the Army, you're assigned a post that may not have a rabbi chaplain and may not have a synagogue within a decent driving distance. You're usually looking at maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours for the nearest Jewish community. So a lot of Jewish families do without. So it started from there. I knew there was a need. And as I got older, I started teaching in Jewish education. And I married a soldier in the Army. We started moving around again. I realized the only way to make a community often was if I did it, if I volunteered to do it.
Like you said, to be able to have a way to build community wherever you are is a nice way to have something, some solid ground, so to speak, I would imagine.
Yeah. I've always felt like it was my mission to kind of create family, create community for other Jewish families. I never really stressed so much about the service or the religious aspect of it, really. I just wanted people to be able to come together, feel like they're with family, have family time, and enjoy our holidays and our culture and our traditions together.
The last thing I would ask is there a text that you hold close to your heart?
Ashkivenu. That is something that I always have held close to my heart, and remind my soldiers that this is a good prayer for you to pray in your low moments.
I love that you're building community and that you're providing a sacred space. Thank you so much for being with us.
Of course, anytime.
Repeat after me. I state your full name.
I, Patricia Feinberg Haggerty, having been appointed an officer in the Army of the United States, do solemnly swear and affirm that I will support and defend.
Just a quick reminder to subscribe to the channel, which will support AJR, and also hit that bell icon, and you'll get a reminder the next time an episode drops. Hello, I am so happy to have with me right now First Lieutenant Shalom Klein, who's coming to us from somewhere in the Middle East. Hello, Shalom.
Hello, Elizabeth. Thanks so much for having me.
So I'd love to know from you what prompted you to seek out this career.
Sure. So I joined my dad in business when I was very, very young. And it taught me everything I know about business and communications and marketing and so on. But I always had a calling towards community work. And that led me, even when I was in school and I studied in Israel, Detroit, New York, I always was the kid organizing community events. And eventually that led me to marry both worlds, where I was in business and I became what I call a professional lay leader. And a couple of years ago, I had a conversation with an Army recruiter that I had actually sent people to in my community activities. And he said, you know, we're not just looking for junior soldiers, we are looking for officers too, people that can lead and people that can make an impact. He was not trying to recruit me. But I love challenges. So I figured, you know, if not me, then who? And if not now, then when? And so I said, you know what? Let's see. Maybe this is something I could do in the reserves. Maybe there's something that to serve my country, serve my community, I can step up. And I commissioned as an officer in the Army Reserve just under 5 years ago. And over that period of time, after commissioning as a military police officer and having the greatest of fortunes and honor to lead America's most amazing men and women, I found my calling into chaplaincy.
It's an incredible story. And when did you start the rabbinic chaplaincy program?
So wherever I've been in the Army so far, I've never been in the same place as a Jewish chaplain in the military. And I noticed that. So wherever I've been in the Army, I've always been the Jewish leader, and the Army has an official term for it. It's called the DRGL, Distinctive Religious Group Leader, where you are endorsed and qualified to act in the absence of a chaplain, not for counseling purposes, but for leading services and leading classes. So I officially became endorsed as a Jewish lay leader, and I discovered how passionate I am about it. And it was about a year and a half ago that I was mobilized from Chicago to Fort Bliss, Texas for a year assignment. And Fort Bliss is one of the largest military installations in the entire Department of Defense. There's no Jewish chaplain, so I was appointed to lead in that community. And it was during that period of time that, as I had the opportunity to lead services, teach classes, and build community, keywords there, build community, that I discovered this is why I came into the military. It is to impact people, and I love it. And in the military, I always viewed chaplains as strictly that religious leader. But then I discovered that, you know, we've got we call it MOSs, military occupational specialties in the Army. You've got the expert in planes, you've got the experts in fuel, the experts in ammunition, experts in weapons. Chaplains are the experts on people. And I realized that that's what I want to do. And that's what started me on this journey at AJR and God willing into the chaplaincy.
I love what you just said, that chaplains are the experts on people. So the idea that you're facilitating that is so beautiful. So are you in the rabbinic program, and when might you be ordained as a rabbi in the timeline?
So yes, I'm in the rabbinic program at AJR, and my plan is to be complete by the beginning of 2024. When I complete the rabbinic program, I will become a chaplain in the U.S. Army. So I'm ecstatic and excited to step into this journey, and I feel like I'm being positioned for success, both with my military leadership and the faculty and administration at AJR, and of course my classmates too.
Beautiful. Wow. Your enthusiasm is inspiring. And I love also that you're sharing about being a chaplain for all faiths. When you become a chaplain, how do you navigate that?
As a chaplain, you are the ethical and moral advisor to the commander of whatever unit you're in. And so it's common when sharing a prayer, you say, I ask people to pray in your faith tradition as I pray in mine. Last year, I had the opportunity to restore a Jewish community chapel and synagogue. We replaced an old Torah scroll that had not been maintained for many, many years with a brand new Torah. And mind you, this is in the midst of COVID. And we taught the 1st Armored Division Band at Fort Bliss. We taught them how to play Jewish music. And we blocked off the main entrance of the post. And we danced the Torah together with the Israeli consul general and the commanding general of the base into the chapel. And about half the people that were there were Jewish, the other half weren't. And that's exactly the kind of chaplain that I want to be. So yes, interfaith work is very important. But most importantly, it really is about helping people to maximize their full potential.
So beautiful. It's very brave work. I just want to hold up, that putting your life on the line for your country and far from home is so huge. I want to express my gratitude for ministering and connecting all the people on that spiritual level. Do you have a prayer or a teaching that particularly moves you that you would share with us today?
So for years, I've always felt very connected in Ashrei to the line of Potech et yadecha maspia l'chol chai ratzon. Open up your hand to be able to provide all that's sought. We all have something different that we're asking for. For my fellow soldiers, it could be just to return home safely. And everybody tends to find what they can connect with.
I love that. Thank you so much for spending this time with me and for joining us today on Sacred Space.
It's my honor. Thank you.
This program, being offered by the Academy for Jewish Religion, was largely inspired by the work of Rabbi Chana Timoner. Chana decided to pursue religious life at age 33 after having raised a family, and so she registered for the rabbinic program at AJR and was ordained 5 years later. From there, she went on to receive a doctorate from the New York Theological Seminary, and only after that, at age 39, did she join up with the U.S. Army Reserves and went through boot camp. And in 1993, she was hired as the first Jewish woman full-time rabbi chaplain in the regular United States Army.
Hi, I'm Rabbi Shohama Wiener, and I'm honored to speak to you about my friend and fellow student, a blessed memory, Rabbi Chana Timoner. I knew Chana because she entered when I was a senior, and we studied together in all the classes. It was a one-room schoolhouse. She was beautiful inside and out, And she had such drive. In fact, she drove more than 2 hours each way from her home in Connecticut to come and study. Hannah and I shared a love of family as well, husband and children. And Hannah loved people. She loved God. She went on to serve in spectacular ways. I miss her very much. Her memory is a blessing.
We are so fortunate today to have with us Cantor Major David Frohmer, and we are sitting in his office at West Point, and it's just an honor to be here with you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
I'd love to hear a little bit about your story and how and why you found yourself working in military and ministry, and how you married those together and became what you became here.
Well, I think the ministry part was kind of what everyone expected me to go into when I was a kid. You know, I loved jumping up on the bima of a synagogue and pretending that I was the cantor and, you know, singing the melodies from Friday night services. So that was very expected when I decided that that's what I wanted to do. The military part was a big shock, and it was a shock to no one more so than myself, because when I was growing up, I didn't even really like going to summer camp. It was hot. I had to be outdoors. I had to get up early. Everyone told me what I had to do. I much preferred to kind of stay indoors and read and sing and do those types of things. And so when I was in college, I knew that I wanted to go off to cantorial school, but I went off and I joined the Israeli army as a lone soldier in the infantry. And I can't really explain how I ended up doing that, except to say it really was kind of like a calling. And I found that it was incredibly meaningful. I was certainly not the best soldier in the unit, but I found that I did have some of the characteristics that one needs when they serve in the military. You know, can you have a good attitude when things are challenging, right? Can you make community with people who are different from yourself? And I found that I had those qualities during my service in the IDF. And so when I finished with that service and I went to Hebrew Union College to start cantorial school, I thought that I was done being a soldier. I was now prepared to be a cantor and kind of focus on that ministry piece as opposed to military piece. And then in my first year at Hebrew Union College, a rabbinical student who was a few years ahead of me, who was training to be a military chaplain, did a presentation, and he really debunked a critical myth that I had about the US military, which was, I thought there were no Jews really serving in the US military. My dad had served in the Vietnam era, and I kind of thought that was really the last time that Jews served in the military. But what this rabbinical student enlightened me to was the fact that there are over 10,000 Jews, American Jews, serving in the US Armed Forces, and those are the only ones we know about. You know, he said to me, look, you can use these exact skills that you're learning in cantorial school in support of the Jews in the military. And so that's how I decided at that point to make military chaplaincy a part of my professional life.
It's fascinating, really, and such a great story. So you were deployed when you were with the IDF, then you finished cantorial school, and then you were deployed again with the US military.
Yes, so I was deployed primarily to Kuwait, visiting with Jewish service members and supporting them for Shabbat and holidays and things like that. Then when I came back from the deployment, you know, I felt like I finally knew how to do my job a little more competently. And so rather than getting out completely, I went into the National Guard, which is like the reserves, so that I could continue the military service part-time, but also kind of pursue full-time cantorial work in the civilian synagogue as I had always imagined. At that point, I lived in California, where my wife was serving as a rabbi at a major Reform congregation. And then, after doing that for 9 years, I came here to work at West Point as the chaplain full-time. So yet a different kind of permutation of what military chaplaincy can look like for someone.
So you shared with me earlier that there are some myths. I had asked you, why is this work important and how does one get into this work? And I know that at a certain point I wanted to get into this work, and someone said, well, you're too old and you have to do all these physical things and it'll be very, very taxing and I don't even think it's possible. So you had shared many people think they have to be in the military for life. Right. So how does that work?
People think, if I sign up to do this, this is going to be my whole life, and I'm going to have to do it full time, and I'll never be able to serve a synagogue, the way I kind of envisioned when I went to rabbinical or cantorial school, and my family's going to have to move around a lot, my spouse won't be able to have a career, right? All those things. So the first is you can do this in full-time or part-time capacities. There is a part-time option to this that is still very meaningful. And then, of course, the second part of debunking that myth is, even if you want to do it full-time, you can do it for 3 years. And in that short amount of time, you would make a huge impact on the people that you meet. There are only 13 full-time Jewish chaplains. 13 Jewish chaplains, to minister to and support thousands and thousands of Jewish personnel. Imagine you're in the middle of Afghanistan. What are the chances that there would be a Passover Seder anywhere? You don't even know if there are 2 Jews anywhere nearby, let alone all the things you would need for a Passover Seder, right? And then a Jewish chaplain shows up. It's the feeling of being rescued by the side of the road when your car breaks down and you're alone.
Are the Jewish chaplains able to outreach to other units and be able to provide that kind of support since there are so few?
Absolutely. One of the best parts about being a Jewish chaplain is working with all of your fellow chaplains to provide religious support of all kinds.
So it's a lot of networking.
A lot of networking and a lot of interfaith collaboration.
Yeah, I love that. So if someone were in an elevator with you and you had the 90-second opportunity, what would be the main points that you would share?
I think we all join the clergy because we want to help people. So to offer that care and support in times of real isolation, when nobody else can get to those people, but you're the one who can, that's a tremendous feeling.
You shared a beautiful piece of music with me, the Ribono Shalom.
Yeah, so this piece is a prayer written by Rabbi Gerald Skolnick that kind of offers a prayer for safety and peace and protection for service members. And the music was set by cantor Danny Mendelsohn, whose father, Jack Mendelsohn, was my teacher in cantorial school. The prayer that one's children be protected, that one's loved ones be protected, is really universal. And so hopefully, you'll kind of hear that in our rendition of it.
Thank you for sharing that with me. Thank you for sharing all this wonderful information with us and for being with us on Sacred Space.
Thank you for having me.
Ribono Shalom, Ribono Shalom, Yoter mikol anu, nosim tefillah. שיזכו לשוב בשלום במהרה ובבריאות טובה למשפחותיהם ולארצם. Whether by air, land or sea, wherever their orders take them, we ask, dear God, that they be protected within your sheltering presence.
If you enjoyed today's program and you're interested in finding out more, go to ajr.edu for more information. Thank you so much for joining us. On our next episode, we will talk about AJR's partnership with the Jewish Deaf Resource Center and their groundbreaking program on Jewish liturgy and American Sign Language for interpreters, as well as deaf community prayer leaders. You won't want to miss it. I'm Elizabeth Sternlieb, and this is Sacred Space.